You're not ready to face him yet. Then make me ready. Elena leaned closer, her voice fierce. You said we needed to reach the vault before Darius. Where is it? Cale hesitated. According to the old texts, it's hidden beneath the ruins of the first palace. In the heart of the Shadowlands. That's in the middle of Darius's territory. Yes. Elena absorbed this information. Every rational thought screamed that they would never make it. That infiltrating enemy territory with a handful of training and borrowed power was suicide. But she thought of her parents. Of Marcus, possibly still alive and suffering. Of Cale's fallen kingdom and scattered people. Of all the innocent lives Darius had destroyed in his quest for power. We need allies, she said. Even with the vault's weapons, we can't fight an entire army alone. I have people. Cale's expression turned calculating. Survivors from my pack, scattered across the kingdoms. If I send out a call, they'll come. And I know nobles who hated Darius even before the coup. People who would support a legitimate heir to the Shadow Throne. Elena stood, ignoring her protesting muscles. We have 3 months until Darius's coronation ceremony. That's when he'll officially claim my father's throne. If we can strike before then, while he's distracted with preparations, we could hit him when he's most vulnerable. Cale rose as well, excitement lighting his features. We need to split up. I'll gather my pack. You reach out to your allies. Shadows exploded outward in a massive wave, not just from the trees, but from the ground, from the air, from within the soldiers themselves. Men collapsed, clutching their heads as darkness invaded their minds, showing them their worst fears, their deepest nightmares. Only Roth remained standing, his will strong enough to resist. He charged toward Elena, sword raised. A massive black wolf intercepted him, having torn free of the silver net through sheer force. Cale's jaws closed around Roth's sword arm, and bones crunched. The captain screamed. Enough, Elena commanded, and the shadows retreated. The soldiers lay unconscious or whimpering in the dirt. Roth clutched his mangled arm, his face white with pain. Cale shifted back to human form, blood dripping from wounds where the silver had burned him. Are you hurt? Just a scratch. Elena looked down at Roth. Go back to your master. Tell him I know about the vault. Tell him I'm coming for it. And tell him that when I'm done, there won't be enough left of him to bury. He'll kill you, Roth gasped. He'll destroy everything you love. He already did. Elena's voice was cold as winter. Now I'm going to return the favor. She turned and walked away, not looking back as Cale followed. Behind them, Roth's screams of pain and rage echoed through the forest. The plan forms. They didn't stop moving until dawn. When they finally collapsed in a new clearing miles away, both were exhausted and bleeding. That was reckless, Cale said, though his tone held more admiration than censure. You used too much power. You could have burned yourself out. But I didn't. Elena examined the cut on her arm. It was shallow but still bleeding. And we got away. This time. Cale pulled her hand away from the wound, pressing a strip of cloth against it. But now Darius knows you're alive. He knows you have powers. He'll send everything he has to capture you. Good. Elena met his gaze. Let him come. I'm tired of hiding. The soldiers charged. Cale shifted mid-step, his human form exploding into a massive black wolf larger than any horse. He met the first soldiers with devastating force, his jaws closing around a man's throat before moving to the next target. Elena threw out her hand, sending shadows lashing through the clearing like whips. 2 soldiers went down screaming as darkness wrapped around them, crushing the air from their lungs. But she was still too slow, too inexperienced. A soldier got past her defenses, his blade slicing across her arm. Pain flared, white-hot and shocking. Elena stumbled back, her concentration breaking. The shadows dissipated. Enough. Roth commanded. His soldiers surrounded her, swords pointed at her heart. Kale, still in wolf form, was pinned down by silver nets that burned his fur. "Let him go," Elena demanded, pressing a hand to her bleeding arm. "I don't think so." Roth smiled coldly. "Lord Darius will want to know what you were doing with this beast. Plotting rebellion, perhaps? Planning to retake your throne?" "My throne was stolen by a coward and a traitor," Elena spat. "Tell Darius I'm coming for him. Tell him I'm going to tear down everything he's built." Brave words from a princess with no kingdom. Roth gestured to his men. "Take her. If the wolf resists, kill it." Elena's mind raced. She was outnumbered, outmatched. But she wasn't helpless. Not anymore. She closed her eyes, reaching deep into the power that now flowed through her veins. Not just to the shadows around her, but to something darker, something ancient that lived in the space between light and dark. "Last warning," she said quietly. "Let us go." Roth laughed. "Or what, princess? You'll bore us to death with threats?" Elena opened her eyes. They blazed with pure violet light. "No. I'll show you what a Shadowborn can really do." She slammed her hands into the ground, and the earth itself seemed to scream. "It doesn't matter." Kale leaned forward, his amber eyes burning with intensity. "Fated mates don't choose each other, Elena. The universe chooses for us. And it chose you for me." "I was married," Elena protested weakly. "I was engaged to Darius. Human arrangements." Kale's hand reached out, his fingers brushing her cheek with devastating gentleness. "Your wolf, the one sleeping inside you, didn't choose those men. She chose me. Why do you think your power awakened so easily when I broke the seal? Why do you think you can control shadows that should take years to master? It's because we're meant to be together." Elena couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Everything in her life had been lies and betrayal and pain. Could this be real? Could something this powerful, this absolute, actually exist? "I'm afraid," she whispered. "Everyone I've ever loved has been taken from me." "Then don't love me." Kale's thumb traced the curve of her jaw. "Hate me if you want. Use me for revenge. Take what you need and walk away when this is done. But know that I will burn kingdoms to keep you safe. That I will stand between you and death itself. Because you're mine, Elena Ashford. And I don't let go of what's mine." Before she could respond, before she could process the overwhelming emotions crashing through her, a howl split the night air. Kale was on his feet instantly, blade in hand. "We've been found." Attack in the night. Figures emerged from the trees, at least 20 armed soldiers wearing Darius's colors. Leading them was a face Elena recognized, Captain Roth, her former fiancé's personal guard. "Princess Elena," Roth called out, his sword drawn. "Lord Darius has been most concerned about you. He'll be pleased to know you're alive." "I'm sure he will be." Elena stood, shadows already gathering around her fingers. "Right before he kills me. The Lord wants you alive." Roth's eyes flicked to Kale. "The wolf, however, is optional. Kill him." Countless hours learning about healing herbs. They never spoke about the growing tension between them, the way their hands would linger when they touched, the way Elena would catch Kale watching her with an intensity that made her heart race. 1 week after her awakening, Elena finally asked the question that had been nagging at her. "Why did you buy me at that auction? How did you even know I was there?" Kale was sharpening his blade by the fire. He paused, his expression unreadable in the flickering light. "I've had people watching the slave markets for months," he said finally. "Looking for any sign of survivors from either of our kingdoms. When my scout reported a woman with violet eyes being sold, I knew it had to be you. But you paid a fortune. You could have just rescued me." "I paid the fortune to buy time." Kale met her gaze. "If I'd simply attacked, the auction house would have raised alarms. Darius's spies are everywhere. This way, it looked like a simple transaction. No one would think to report it. That's not the whole truth. Elena moved closer, sitting across from him. I can see it in your eyes. There's something you're not telling me. Cale's jaw tightened. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he set down his blade and looked at her fully. Do you know what it means to be a shifter's fated mate? The question caught Elena off guard. I've heard stories. That shifters can sense their perfect match, their other half. It's more than sensing. Cale's voice was rough with emotion. It's knowing. The moment I saw you in that auction house, the moment your scent hit my nose, every instinct in my body screamed that you were mine. That you were created to stand beside me. That losing you would destroy me more completely than Darius ever could. Elena's heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst from her chest. That's not possible. We barely know each other. I found my parents in the throne room. Her voice broke. Cale's hand found hers, squeezing gently. The simple gesture of comfort nearly undid her. They were already dead, she continued, fighting back tears. My mother had just enough strength left to press the pendant into my hands and tell me to run. My father. She swallowed hard. My father told me to survive. To live. To make Darius pay for what he'd done. And your brother? Cale asked carefully. You had a younger brother. The reports mentioned Prince Marcus. He was only 12. Elena's tears finally fell. I saw soldiers dragging him away. I tried to reach him, but there were too many. Someone hit me from behind, and when I woke up, the palace was just smoking ruins. Marcus was gone. Everyone was gone. She looked at Cale through her tears. They said no one survived. But I've never found his body. Sometimes I dream that he's still alive somewhere, imprisoned, waiting for me to save him. It's not impossible, Cale said thoughtfully. If Darius believed Marcus might also have Shadowborn abilities, he might keep him alive as a backup plan. Hope flared in Elena's chest, painful and desperate. Do you really think so? I think Darius is thorough and paranoid. He would want insurance. Cale stood, pulling Elena to her feet. Which means we need to be smarter, faster, and more ruthless than he is. Revelations and risks. Over the following days, they fell into a routine. Mornings were for combat training, Cale teaching Elena how to fight with knives, how to exploit an enemy's weaknesses, how to kill without hesitation. Afternoons were for shadow magic, pushing her abilities further each day. But it was the evenings that Elena began to treasure most. When they would sit by the fire in their hidden camp, sharing stories of their lost kingdoms, their destroyed families. Cale spoke of his father, the wise alpha who had taught him to lead with honor. Elena described her mother's garden, where she had spent. Enough, Cale finally said. You're pushing too hard. I need to be stronger. Elena wiped sweat from her forehead. Darius has armies. I have parlor tricks. Parlor tricks? Cale raised an eyebrow. You just learned in one morning what takes most Shadowborn months to master. You're not weak, Elena. You're untrained. There's a difference. He produced a water skin and passed it to her. Elena drank gratefully, then sank down onto a fallen log. Tell me about Darius, Cale said, sitting beside her. How did you not see what he was? Memories of betrayal. Elena's jaw tightened. She didn't want to think about Darius, about how blind she'd been. But Cale deserved to know what they were facing. I met him at my 18th birthday celebration, she began, staring at her hands. He was charming, handsome, everything a young princess could want. He quoted poetry, brought me flowers, made me feel like I was the center of his world. He played you, Cale said quietly. Perfectly. Elena's voice turned bitter. For 2 years, I believed every word. When he asked my father for my hand in marriage, I was thrilled. I thought I was in love. I thought he loved me. She paused, the memories washing over her like poison. The night before the wedding, I couldn't sleep. I went to his chambers to talk. I heard voices inside, his and another man's. They were discussing the attack. Discussing when they would strike, how many soldiers to use, which family members to kill first. Cale's expression darkened. And he knew you were the Shadowborn? He knew about the prophecy. That one day, a Shadowborn would arise who could access the Vault of Shadows. Elena's hands clenched into fists. He didn't care about me. He never did. I was just a key to unlock power. What happened when you confronted him? Elena's breath shuddered. I didn't. I ran to warn my parents, but I was too late. The attack had already begun. The palace was burning. Guards were slaughtering everyone loyal to my family. To commit genocide to achieve it. Elena's mind reeled. She had known Darius was ambitious, but this was madness on a scale she couldn't comprehend. The Vault of Shadows contains weapons that could stop him, Cale continued. Ancient magic from the First Kingdoms, powerful enough to level armies. If we can reach it before Darius finds another way in, we could end him. Elena finished the thought, her voice hard. Images of her parents flashed through her mind. Her mother's gentle smile. Her father's booming laugh. Her little brother's mischievous grin. All gone. All murdered by the man she had once loved. I'm in, she said. Tell me what I need to do. The first lesson. Cale's expression shifted to something that might have been respect. First, you need to survive. That means learning to defend yourself. He pulled a dagger from his belt and tossed it to her. Elena caught it clumsily, nearly dropping the blade. Have you ever killed anyone, princess? The question hung in the air between them. Elena thought of the guards who had captured her, remembered the terror of being hunted, the desperate fight to stay alive. No, she admitted. But I've wanted to. Wanting and doing are very different things. Cale circled her slowly, like a predator assessing prey. When we go after Darius, there will be blood. His soldiers won't hesitate to kill you. Can you do the same? Elena met his gaze squarely. For my family? For my kingdom? Yes. I can. Then let's begin. What followed was the most brutal hour of Elena's life. Cale was merciless, teaching her basic defensive moves, showing her where to strike to disable an opponent, how to use her smaller size to her advantage. She fell, got back up, and fell again. Her muscles screamed. Her pride shattered. But with each bruise, each failure, something inside her hardened. The soft princess who had once worried about ball gowns and poetry died a little more. In her place, a warrior began to emerge. Then why am I still alive? Elena challenged. If Darius needs Ashford blood, why didn't he keep me prisoner? Because he doesn't know you survived. Cale pulled out a folded paper from his coat. The official report says the entire royal family perished in the palace fire. As far as the kingdom knows, Princess Elena Ashford is dead. Elena stared at the document, seeing her own death certificate. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. So I'm a ghost. You're an opportunity. Cale's expression softened slightly. I won't lie to you, princess. I have my own reasons for wanting Darius destroyed. But those reasons align with yours. Together, we can take back what he stole. And what exactly did he steal from you? Secrets and shadows. Cale stood and walked to the window, staring out at the darkened city. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of old pain. 5 years ago, I was Alpha King of the Northern Territories. My people were strong, prosperous, and free. Then Darius approached me with an alliance. He said our kingdoms could unite against common enemies, share resources, create lasting peace. Cale's hands clenched into fists. It was all lies. The moment I signed the treaty, his soldiers attacked. They used poisoned weapons that weakened my warriors, killed my father, and scattered my pack to the winds. You're a shifter, Elena breathed. She had heard stories of the wolf kingdoms to the north, but they rarely interacted with human realms. I'm the last alpha king of a dead bloodline. Kale turned back to face her, and she saw raw fury burning in his eyes. Darius took everything from me. My kingdom, my family, my future. He's been hunting the survivors ever since, trying to wipe us out completely. Why? Because we refused to bow to him. Kale moved closer, his presence overwhelming in the small room. Darius doesn't just want power, princess. He wants domination. Total control over every kingdom, every territory, every living soul. And he's willing. Aang's ransom. Because Darius is the reason I'm here. The stranger's expression hardened. My name is Kale Thornridge. And I need your help to destroy him. The exiled king. Kale led Elena through winding alleyways, moving with the confidence of someone who knew these streets intimately. She followed because she had no choice, but every instinct screamed at her to run. Trust had nearly gotten her killed once. She wouldn't make that mistake again. They finally stopped at a small inn on the edge of the city. Kale paid the innkeeper, who asked no questions, and guided Elena up narrow stairs to a private room. Sit, he commanded, gesturing to a chair by the fire. You look like you haven't eaten in days. He was right. Elena collapsed into the chair, her legs trembling from exhaustion. Kale produced bread, cheese, and dried meat from a pack, placing them on the table before her. Eat first. Then we'll talk. Elena wanted to refuse, to maintain some semblance of pride, but hunger won. She tore into the food like a starving animal, barely tasting it. Kale watched in silence, pouring her a cup of water. When she finally finished, he sat across from her, his amber eyes studying her face. You said you need my help, Elena said carefully. Why would an exiled princess be of any use to you? Because you're not just an exiled princess. Kale leaned forward, his intensity pinning her in place. You're the last living heir of the Shadow Throne. The only person alive who can access the Vault of Shadows. Elena's heart skipped. The Vault of Shadows was a legend, a mythical chamber said to contain weapons of unimaginable power, sealed away by the first Shadow Kings. The vault is a fairy tale. Every child in the kingdom grows up hearing those stories. It's real. Kale's voice was absolute. And Darius knows it. Why do you think he slaughtered your entire family? He's been searching for the vault for years. The only thing stopping him is the blood seal. Only an Ashford can open. The voice cut through the noise like a blade. Deep, commanding, impossible to ignore. Every head in the auction house turned toward the back of the room. A man stepped into the torchlight, and Elena's breath caught in her throat. The mysterious warrior. He was tall and powerfully built, with broad shoulders that filled out his dark leather armor. His hair was midnight black, falling just past his collar, and his eyes, dear gods, his eyes, burned with an intensity that made her shiver. They were the color of molten amber, fierce and intelligent, scanning the crowd with predatory awareness. But it was the way he looked at her that stopped her heart. Not with lust or greed like the other buyers, but with recognition. As if he knew her. As if he had been searching for her. 100 gold coins, he repeated, his gaze never leaving Elena's face. And I'll pay double if we can conclude this transaction immediately. The auctioneer's eyes widened with greed. Sold. To the gentleman in the back. Elena's mind raced as guards unlocked her chains and pushed her toward the stranger. Who was he? Why would anyone pay such a fortune for a nameless slave? Unless he knew who she really was. Unless he worked for Darius. Panic seized her chest. She stumbled backward, but the stranger moved with impossible speed, catching her arm with surprising gentleness. Easy, he murmured, his voice low enough that only she could hear. I'm not your enemy, princess. The title sent ice through her veins. I don't know what you're talking about. His lips curved into a slight smile. Your accent betrays you. Only royalty from the Shadow Kingdom speak with that particular lilt. And those eyes. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. Violet eyes are the mark of Ashford bloodline. Very rare. Very distinctive. Very dangerous for you to be parading around in public. Then why reveal yourself to me? Elena hissed. If you know who I am, you could turn me over to Darius for a key. The chains of destiny. The iron chains bit into Elena's wrists as guards dragged her through the dimly lit corridor. Every step echoed against cold stone walls, reminding her how far she had fallen. 3 months ago, she had been Princess Elena Ashford, beloved daughter of the Shadow Kingdom. Tonight, she was just another piece of merchandise waiting to be sold. The underground market reeked of desperation and greed. Torches cast dancing shadows across the faces of buyers, merchants seeking servants, nobles hunting for exotic entertainment, and darker figures whose intentions she dared not imagine. Elena kept her head down, letting her tangled black hair hide her face. The bruise on her cheek throbbed, a parting gift from the slave traders who had captured her fleeing through the whispering woods. Lot number 17, the auctioneer announced, his voice booming across the crowded chamber. A young woman of fine breeding. Strong, healthy, and obedient. Liar. Elena was none of those things anymore. She was broken, haunted by nightmares of flames consuming her palace, of her parents' screams, of Lord Darius's cold smile as he ordered her family's execution. The man she had trusted, the man she was supposed to marry, had betrayed them all. We'll start the bidding at 50 gold coins, the auctioneer continued. 60, called a fat merchant from the front row. 70. A woman in expensive silks raised her fan. Elena's stomach churned. She would rather die than serve any of these people. Her fingers instinctively moved toward her chest, where a small pendant lay hidden beneath her torn dress. Her mother had pressed it into her hands moments before the palace fell, whispering urgent words Elena hadn't understood. Your true power sleeps within you. When the time comes, it will awaken. 100 gold coins.